A group representing police chiefs across Canada is calling for decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs. The Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police says substance use and addiction are a public health issue, and it's recommending a national task force be created to look into drug policy reform. The president of the organization, Vancouver Police Chief Adam Palmer, says arresting people for simple possession has proven ineffective and doesn't save lives.
Being addicted to a controlled substance is not a crime and should not be treated as such. We recommend that Canada's enforcement-based approach for possession be replaced with a healthcare approach that diverts people from the criminal justice system.
So what ultimately caused you to get sober? What was the moment that you made the decision? And I don't know, like events around it, like what's your story with your decision to get sober?
Well, it really wasn't my decision because I ended up in jail. I feel like they arrested me and I was looking at some pretty serious prison time. And it didn't really matter to me. When I got arrested, I remember calling my mom, begging her to, get me up, and thank God she didn't, because I had enough time to get physically sober, enough time to feel something, and to be able to look at what's actually been happening to my life.
As far as withdrawing off of meth, I didn't withdraw until I went to jail. I always had it, so I didn't think I had a problem.
And I remember when I went to court and the judge was like, you're going to prison for 3 years. It was in that moment, I don't know, maybe it was walking across the courtroom in shackles in front of my mom and seeing her, knowing she did everything for me growing up. I was a cheerleader, I was on dance team, she gave me every opportunity to be successful in my life. And then here I am, 100 pounds and, going to prison. And I was willing to take responsibility, even if that meant going to prison for 3 years.
So when I went to jail and I actually had to get off of meth, I would fiend for it. I'd be calling bondsmen my first few days. I didn't have a bond. There was no bond. No one could come get me. But I wanted to get out so bad to get high. I was literally fiending for it. And I had someone that I was selling to come up to me and say, Jessica, you're obviously addicted to meth, you need to calm down. And I just didn't even think about it. I was just I must get out, I have to get out, I need it. And I remember just sitting in that cell being so depressed, and I was fiending, like I said, and I just was anxious. I would pace this cell back and forth. I couldn't sit still. My mind was just obsessing over it. You have to get out, you have to get out, you have to get out, you have to get meth. And there was absolutely no way for me to get out. Eventually that did go away, but it probably took a solid 3 to 5 weeks for me to even feel kind of normal.
And you quit meth before you quit other substances, right? Like heroin?
I quit heroin first.
Okay, so you quit meth after.
Mm-hmm.
What caused you to quit?
I was arrested. I was arrested at 4:30 in the morning on October 20th, 2011. And that was it. That was the last time that I used.
I went to a place called Oasis Women's Recovering Community, which is not a non-profit. They don't make profit. I stood out in parking lots for 6 months selling coupon booklets to Carl's Jr. To be there, self-supporting. So it was really hard. It wasn't a luxury treatment center where, I'm getting a massage and acupuncture. And thank God I landed there because they told me the truth about myself, that I had to make a choice. Do I want to continue being selfish and living this kind of life and take my daughter's life away from her by not giving her a mother? It was the honest,
I also found out when I was arrested that I was pregnant. I was about 3 weeks pregnant. And that was a very hard thing for me to wrap my brain around too. I knew I was going to prison for selling drugs. I didn't know how to go to prison pregnant. So that whole journey was really tough for me. I served 2.5 years. My daughter was born while I was in prison, and she was the sole reason why I got sober. And I've stayed sober ever since, and I have almost 8 years sober now.
And I just want to prove this bitch that I am better than her because I am so fucking over it, and I am literally the star of TikTok. And she's so pathetic that she just she's so surpassing me, and everybody's reminding me that she's gonna pass me. And I just want to prove this bitch that I am better than her because I am so fucking over it, and I am literally the star of TikTok. And TikTok takes me down into a zero. I'm looking at TikTok headquarters and strangle their necks.
Being addicted to a controlled substance is not a crime and should not be treated as such. We recommend that Canada's enforcement-based approach for possession be replaced with a healthcare approach that diverts people from the criminal justice system.
I agree. If you say that I'm a different person, anybody say that money don't change them, they just didn't make enough.